The Truth Behind the Zombie, A Journey Through Fiction and History in the World of Folklore, Film and Popular Culture. The term zombie evokes images of reanimated corpses, mindless flesh-eating monsters with rotting skin and unblinking eyes, but the concept of the zombie, like many myths and legends, stretches far beyond the realms of fiction. It has deep roots in history, belief systems, and even scientific curiosities. What does it truly mean to be a zombie? Is it a fictional character created by storytellers, or could it be something more? The truth lies somewhere in the blurred lines between reality and fiction, where history, culture, and imagination converge. The origins of the zombie, a concept born of belief and fear. The word zombie comes from the West African folklore, particularly from the voodoo traditions of Haiti, where it was believed that a living person could be turned into a zombie through a process known as soul binding or zombification. In this context, a zombie was not an undead monster but a person who had been magically enslaved, their soul controlled by a sorcerer or priest. The person's body was still alive, but their will was no longer their own. This idea of a person being dead but still living in body, mind, and spirit is central to many early depictions of zombies. It is also closely tied to the fear of death and the unknown, a theme that continues to be explored in zombie fiction today. The history of zombification. The concept of zombification goes beyond the folklore of Haiti and Africa. It has roots in other cultures as well. For example, ancient Egyptian mummies were thought to be souls who had been trapped or awakened from death. Similarly, in many cultures, there are stories of individuals who have been believed to return from the grave, not as fully living people but as empty shells with no consciousness or will of their own. However, the term zombie and its association with a specific process of turning someone into an undead creature began to gain prominence in Haiti during the 17th and 18th centuries, when African slaves were brought to the island by European colonists. The slaves brought with them their traditions and religious beliefs, which eventually blended with those of the indigenous Taino people and European settlers. The belief in zombies flourished in this context, as the practice of voodoo emerged as a powerful force among the enslaved population. In voodoo, the idea of zombies was linked to the concept of kokuzi, or the soul, which could be manipulated by powerful priests known as bokas. According to this belief, a bokor could use magic or poison to bind a person's soul and make them into a zombie. This process was often portrayed as a punishment for individuals who had committed offenses or disobeyed the priest's authority. True stories of zombies, real-life cases and speculations. While most zombie tales are pure fiction, some stories throughout history have blurred the lines between myth and reality. Perhaps the most famous of these is the case of Travers Narcissus, a man from Haiti who was believed to have been turned into a zombie. The case of Travers Narcissus in 1962. Travers Narcissus, a Haitian man, was pronounced dead by doctors and buried. However, several years later he reappeared in his village, claiming that he had been turned into a zombie. Narcissus' story became one of the most well-documented instances of alleged zombification. According to Narcissus, he had been buried alive after being poisoned by a bokor, a voodoo sorcerer. The poison, he claimed, caused him to lose consciousness and appear dead. Once he was buried, he was exhumed and revived, but his soul had been bound by the bokor. He was forced to work as a slave, living in a state of mental and physical subjugation until he managed to escape. Narcissus' story was investigated by several researchers, including ethnobotanist Wade Davis, who conducted an extensive study of zombification in Haiti. Davis hypothesized that a specific combination of poisons, namely a substance called tetrodotoxin derived from pufferfish, could induce a state of paralysis and apparent death. This poison, when administered in the correct dosage, could make someone appear dead to the point where they were buried, only to be revived later in a disoriented, suggestible state. Davis's research suggested that the zombification process was not supernatural, but rather the result of drug-induced states, psychological manipulation and social control. Narcissus' case, though still shrouded in mystery, remains one of the most compelling real-life stories of zombification. Other alleged cases of zombification, while Narcissus' story is the most famous, there have been other claims of people being turned into zombies throughout history. Some researchers have pointed to the practice of zombifying individuals as a form of social control. In Haiti, in the context of the Haitian slave trade, it is possible that zombification was used as a way to maintain power over a disenfranchised population. For example, in 1937, another Haitian man named Jean-Baptiste was reported to have been resurrected from the dead after being buried for over a year. His story is similar to that of Narcissus, with claims of poison, death and reanimation. However, much like Narcissus' case, there is little concrete evidence to support these claims, and many scholars view them as exaggerated or fabricated. In other parts of the world, the idea of zombification has appeared in different forms. In ancient China, for example, there were stories of walking corpses that could be revived by magic or special rituals. Similarly, in European folklore, there were tales of revenants, undead creatures that returned from the grave to exact revenge on those who wronged them. The science of zombification, poison, paralysis and neurochemistry. While the idea of zombification is deeply rooted in folklore, there may be a scientific explanation for some of the phenomena associated with it. Modern research into neurochemistry and toxicology has provided insight into how certain substances could potentially induce a zombie-like state. One of the key ingredients often cited in the zombification process is tetrodotoxin, a potent neurotoxin found in pufferfish. This substance has been used in the Vodou tradition as part of the process of creating a zombie. Tetrodotoxin works by blocking sodium channels in the nervous system, causing paralysis and loss of consciousness. In high enough doses, it can lead to respiratory failure and death. However, in lower doses, it may induce a state of paralysis that mimics death, only to have the person revived later in a disoriented, altered state of consciousness. Other substances such as datura, a hallucinogenic plant, have also been used in the zombification process. Datura is known for its ability to induce delirium, confusion, and hallucinations, which could explain the behaviors of alleged zombies. These substances, when combined with psychological manipulation and social isolation, could potentially create a zombie-like state. However, it is important to note that this is not the same as the reanimation of the dead as depicted in popular culture. Instead, it is a form of altered consciousness and physical control, often used for social or ritualistic purposes. Zombies in popular culture. The rise of the undead. While the historical and scientific aspects of zombification are fascinating, the zombie as we know it today, an undead creature driven by an insatiable hunger for human flesh, has evolved largely through fiction. The modern image of the zombie can be traced back to the early 20th century, when the first cinematic depictions of the undead began to emerge. The 1932 film White Zombie, starring Bela Lugosi, is often considered one of the first mainstream portrayals of zombies in cinema. However, it wasn't until George A. Romero's 1968 classic Night of the Living Dead that the modern zombie archetype was truly born. Romero's zombies were reanimated corpses, mindless and hungry for human flesh. This depiction has become the standard for zombies in movies, TV shows, video games, and books. Since then, zombies have been reimagined in countless ways, from the fast-moving, rage-filled creatures of 28 Days Later to the comedic, lovable zombies in Shaun of the Dead. The zombie apocalypse, in which the world is overrun by the undead, has become a popular theme in entertainment, reflecting societal fears of collapse, disease, and the breakdown of civilization. The truth, fiction or reality? So what is the truth about zombies? Are they simply a creation of fiction? Is there some kernel of reality to the myths and legends? The answer lies in the fact that zombies, in the traditional sense, are indeed fictional creations. The idea of reanimated corpses with an insatiable hunger for human flesh is a concept born from the imagination, and it exists primarily within the realm of horror fiction. However, the concept of zombification, whether it's the result of magic, poison, or social control, has roots in history. The case of Clavius Narcissus and other similar stories demonstrate that people have believed in the possibility of turning someone into a zombie, often through psychological, pharmacological means. These real-life accounts, though often debated, suggest that the idea of zombification is not purely a creation of fiction but has historical, cultural, and scientific underpinnings. In the end, the zombie is a fascinating symbol of death, control, and the boundaries between life and death. Whether as a fictional monster or a historical concept, the zombie continues to captivate and terrify us, exploring our deepest fears about mortality, power, and the unknown. The truth of the zombie is both a reflection of our darkest imaginations and a reminder of the power of belief, culture, and history in shaping our understanding of the world around us.